Hi, I'm Mark. Welcome back to Foothill Paint Fabrication. Today we're going to get started on making a steel hood scoop insert for the GTO. Now the factory ones are made of pot metal and they just kind of screw down from underneath. They leave a seam all the way around. Sometimes they fit halfway decent, sometimes they don't. When I was like 16 or 17, I actually molded mine in, but that just consisted of me pop riveting it on, body filler, and hoping for the best. I think it lasted about a year before it cracked. Then I redid it again when I was 19 or 20, I think, and I made one out of steel, and I welded it on, and that lasted quite a few years. It was pretty rough, though. All I had was a gas torch and brazing rod, so I think we can do better. Hopefully the third time's a charm. Before we get started on it, though, I want to bring something up about the channel. A lot of the work I've been doing lately is kind of repetitive and it's kind of boring for you guys. So I don't want to just drop a video just to drop a video of me sanding some more. So we're gonna switch over to a video every other week. So we'll be dropping 2 videos a month. They do take quite a bit of effort and time on my part to make the video, so I want to make sure there's good production value and a lot of interest for you guys to watch. Once content kind of picks back up with some more interesting stuff, then we'll switch back over to once a week. But I want to make sure that you guys get a lot of value for the time you spend watching my videos and for me making them. So let's jump in, trying to figure out how to make a good template of that hood scoop, and then we can figure out what we're going to cut it out of. All right, there's the OG hood scoop off my very first GTO. It's a little beat up and it doesn't fit so well. It's kind of sticking up over here. You can see the holes I drilled to pop rivet it on. You know, and basically, if I remember correctly, I put body filler underneath, glitched it down, then pop riveted on, and then put body filler over the top, sanded it. It worked for a little bit, you know, but it didn't really work, so it cracked eventually. But that doesn't really matter. Today we're going to use it as a model to make some templates. So the idea is, I think I want to make this upper piece all one piece of steel. So this leg all the way up and around, down into this peak a little bit, and then down this side right here. And then we'll make that piece, and I think this bottom piece I want to make it out of one piece of steel where it curves around, goes all the way, and then curves up the other side, and then we'll make this beak right here in the center out of something else, and then kind of put it all together. At least that's the game plan, but first we have to start making some templates. So let me get some tape on this thing, and we'll try to make something that matches the hood scoop and also matches the hood, because you know, you can tell it doesn't line up so good here. So I want to make these templates as precise as possible, probably cut them out on the CNC Plasma cutter, and then we'll have some good parts to start with. All right, I got 3 or 4 layers of tape on here so it doesn't stretch, and it gives me a little more bulk to handle instead of just trying to use 1 or 2 layers. So then all we're going to do is take a razor blade and we're going to cut along this edge right here. Now this scoop does have a curve to it, so this will take into that account as we go around the corners. And I just want to go down to this peak a little bit, and then we'll go down around the corner here. All right, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go around the whole thing, but instead of going up against the scoop here, I'm going to use the hood itself to guide me. I'm going to try to get right down inside here, right where they would meet. And I'm just going to run right around this thing right here, and then go around the corner carefully. Carefully, Mark. There we go. And then we'll go all the way down to the end here. When we make it, we'll probably make it a little big anyways, and then we can just sand it down to make sure it fits really good. But I'll bust that out real quick, and I'll bring you back when we've got a little template ready to go. All right, we've got that all trimmed up. It's a little jagged here and there, but it'll work. So we're going to peel that off there, stick it on a piece of construction paper here, and then I'll probably just take it, scan it, and get it into Fusion 360 and make a part for the plasma cutter to cut. So that's fairly straightforward. The one underneath is a little bit different, so we're going to have to make some pieces. I think I'm going to wrap tape up inside here and then make, you know, just that portion here, and then we will actually draw this out or somehow make another template and try to connect those together. Then we can roll them flat scan those, and cut a piece as well. We will do most of this in construction paper first, just to see like this bottom, make sure it's going to fit up inside there. It's a lot easier to manipulate, obviously, and a lot cheaper. So we're going to go ahead and go that route first, just kind of a proof of concept. And then we can cut some steel and see how it's going to work. So let me bust this out. I'm going to figure this part out, and I'll bring you back when we've got somewhere. All right, got that piece off and stuck down to some poster board here. So I don't want to cut it out and test until I scan it, because it's a really nice scan, the blue against the white here, and it's really easy to draw around it on the bottom. So you guys can see it's multiple pieces. I actually poked holes through where the rivets went and put ink marks so I could line this piece up. I put in separate to the bottom piece I did separate, and I think I've got them lined up right. Little ears on here where it wraps up and it goes up underneath here, you know, because there's a piece right there where my thumb is. We'll do that with a totally different piece. I had visions of, you know, actually making that all one piece, but it'll be a nightmare. There's no way to make it work. So we'll have to piece this thing together and sand and file it till it looks right. So I'm going to go ahead and get these scanned, get them drawn, and then once that's done, I can actually draw around these things and then cut the construction paper or the poster board up, and then see if we can start kind of origamiing this thing together and see if it's going to work. All right, we got both paper templates made out of the poster board. So the bottom one's looking pretty good. It's fitting in here really nice. It's kind of hard to keep these rolled over because they don't want to stay, but I think that one's going to work out. And then the upper one, I have it clamped with some clothespins onto the actual hood scoop. And if I hold it up here, it feels like it's too long, like it's splaying out too much this way, but once I bend it around, then it lines up perfectly. And this is where you have to trust that tape template, because it followed all the contours. Then when you flatten it out, things kind of change and it doesn't look right. Like right here, there's a little bump right there, even though I know that's curved. Well, when I bend this way, that's going to have to be shrunk, and then we're going to lose some right there. So I think that's why we need that bump right there. But I think we're ready to go. I've got some 18 gauge. Let's go over to the plasma cutter and go ahead and cut both these pieces out. And I think we'll get started on this one first, see if we can shape it to at least lay in here, and then we'll get to work on the bottom one. All right, let's get these cut. So much easier than 1/4 inch. All right, let me clean those up a little bit, and we're going to figure out how we're going to go ahead and bend that arc on this one right here. All right, we got those parts cut out. Looks like it's going to work out pretty good. Next step is to bend this piece to match this profile right here. I don't know if you guys can make that out, if I can get the right angle. So there's a slight curve downward on here, and then these pieces come down. So what I did was I took my profile gauge, put it up against there, dug around in my stuff, and I found an old spoon that was my dad's, and I found the radius of this right there. So we're going to move over to the vise and do some hammering on this thing and try to get it to match the old scoop exactly, and then we can move forward with getting it shaped across here and getting these ears down. So let's get over there and do a little hammering. All right, here's the spoon. It's I don't even know what it was originally intended for, but it's got kind of a radius that gradually changes throughout. So what I did was I held the profile gauge up to it. I found the spot. You can see I cleaned it up here a little bit. So I found the spot that matches it exactly, and then I just put a Sharpie line on each side. That way I know where to hold the part as we tap down into that shape. So I've got a couple of marks on here. That's where I know I need to turn. So what we're going to do is just get this portion to match right here on both sides, and then we'll start working each end and the middle. So I did some testing. You know, I wasn't sure exactly how I want to get this done, And I found that this little hammer right here does the best work using the hard rubber side, not the hard plastic side. It doesn't leave dents and stuff that we're going to have to try to planish out later. So yeah, let's just start hammering and see what happens. I'm just going to hold it and keep it right between the lines and just keep tapping on it. All right, got just the slightest amount of curve in there. I need to go back and forth several times to get that to match exactly. I'll bring you back when we got one side done and we'll take a look at it. All right, it's actually looking pretty good. I don't know if I can get it in the camera angle there, but we've got the slightest curve on there and we're starting to match up really nice. So the shape is starting to go off where this one doesn't line up anymore because we have the curve in there and it's starting to go down, which kicks this up. Once again, this is where you have to trust that tape template because it followed all the contours, and once you make it flat, it changes. But what you hope is when you're done hammering that it fits right back on there. So I'm going to do this side, and then we're going to see about get maybe this peak down the middle and then these ends. So I'll bring you back when I've got some progress, and hopefully this thing is going to match the top really nicely. All right, it's starting to look like something. So I had to do some shrinking right here because that's what's folding back, and I had to rework this a little bit to get a little crown in there where it tips over. It goes each direction. But it is starting to look like at least part of a hood scoop anyways. So the next step is to get these to come down around the corner here. They're up right now. So we need to bring that down and then twist these down. So it shouldn't be that big a deal. I'm going to go right back to that spoon and just kind of get it in there and hammer it around and keep testing it. And then we'll go test it on the car and see how it fits. So I'll bring you back in a minute. This shouldn't take long. This is fairly easy. Of course, I probably just jinxed myself saying that. But yeah, let me bust that out real quick and then we can go test fit it. Well, we're getting somewhere. It looks pretty darn good actually. So if we look down through here, you can see the shape. We've got a nice little transition from the scoop onto the hood itself. Not perfect, a lot of fine tuning to do, but it looks pretty good overall. But we are a little screwed up here and there. So you see this shape right here as it comes off the hood. I need to duplicate that in the scoop, and I bent it in the wrong location. So that curve is not quite right on both sides. We are a little long, but as that curve comes in and gets right, that'll hinge this in, and then this piece shouldn't be long anymore. We'll trim it if we have to later, but overall, I think it looks good. It's getting to the point now where I can't go by the factory pot metal piece. I have to come out here to the hood a lot more often. The factory one didn't fit all that great anyway, and it's a little bent up, so we have to use that to get us started and then use the hood to get us the rest of the way there. But I'm going to go ahead and get these bit correctly so they match the hood nicely, and then we'll see if we need to trim that off or it'll drop in all the way. Once we get that all done, then we can start focusing on the bottom piece here and try to get that worked out. That's fairly simple. It's kind of flat, and we should be able to get that piece going pretty quickly. All right guys, even I get lucky once in a while. It's actually coming out pretty nice. I guess if I did it when I was 19 years old, I should be able to do it at my age now, right? So if you look right here, right, the shadow goes from the hood to the piece we just made. See how that shadow lines up inside there? That's a really good sign. We did trim up both sides right here, so that's sitting pretty flush through there. Not perfect yet, and it's fitting really nice across the top, and we also trimmed this side, so we're looking really good. Now it's time to work on this bottom piece here, and it's flat all the way across, I think, and then it just curls up on the end, and then there's a lip all the way in. Of course, that center piece we have to make. But let's get this bottom piece knocked out, and then we'll start fitting those two together. Okay, on to the next piece. So we have to make this piece to duplicate this, and it's going to roll up inside here. So we need to roll this to match all that. Now, getting both of these rolled up perfectly on both sides and getting the distance correct is going to be nearly impossible for me. So what I'm going to do is cut this thing right down the middle and then just do one half at a time and then stick it back together. Not to mention, this hood scoop follows the hood, right? So the hood goes along nice and flat, then it rolls up to the peak and then back down again. So we'll be able to do that here and then stick it back together. It should be no big deal. This piece will cover up that weld anyways. It's hollow on this one. So what I did was I came in here with a straight edge and tried to figure out what angle this was right here, right where that starts to roll up, right up inside there. And I kept messing with it and realized it's 90 degrees. From this edge, it's 90 degrees. So I put a mark here at 90 and a mark right here at 90, and what I'm going to do is transfer those up to this, over to this piece, and then we know where to start our bend. We'll actually start it a little bit in advance. You know, from experience, I know you got to start in advance. I did find a piece of 5/8 solid stock that fits up inside there really nice, and I think it'll be just the perfect diameter to do this. But I'm going to have to make a tool. I'm going to dig through my stuff, so I already have one, but I need to make something to bend the sheet metal around, not just sticking that in the vise. That wouldn't work so good. So give me a minute to knock that die out, or that tool, and then we'll come back and get to work on shaping these. All right, I got one made, 3 tries. I had to straighten it out, try again, and I was so far off on where to start and everything else. So hopefully on this one, that's my original line. I thought where I was supposed to start the bend. That is where I have to start the bend. So let's get this up on the anvil here I got in the vise. We'll hammer it over and hopefully we can make another one of those. All right, I made just a quick anvil. It's a 1/4 inch piece of steel, some scrap, and I welded a piece of 5/8 solid on the other end, but the diameter was too small, so it didn't work. I had to redo it. So I put a piece of 1/2 inch conduit on this end. If I'm real careful, it won't distort. And then I just clamp it between a piece of steel so this side stays perfectly flat. And we're going to take a block of wood and just kind of tap all the way around here. Distorted a little bit right there, but we can fix that, I think. Now we need to bend this tab around, since I obviously didn't get everything just perfect. So we need to bend this, which makes this swell up a little bit, which is okay. And then that will line up with the edge as we go around the corner here. All right, let's test it out, see how it looks. All right, looks perfect right there, huh? But not hardly. So we're looking really good. I think this side came out way better. You can see a little bit of a gap in there, but other than that, it all lines up really nice. I think I started the roll too late on that one, but that doesn't mean anything. I can kind of re-roll it, so that's easy. But we got a little gap here, but this piece right here is supposed to kind of tip and roll down, as you can see on the factory one right here. It kind of blends down into it, so I think we're okay there. But comparing it to the factory pot metal piece, I think we're getting somewhere, guys. I think this thing might just work out. But it's getting late, it's dinner time, and I'm hungry, and I'm kind of sick of working on this thing, so I think we'll pick it up later. All right, so next morning I feel recharged a little bit, and we got to get down to the nitty-gritty now. I went ahead and re-rolled this so it matches this side. I don't know if that side's perfect or not, but it looked better. So we really need to reshape these to match the hood. But before we can do that, I actually have to finish this piece off on these little ears. So I highlighted how they fit on the old one with some Sharpie right here. Obviously this does not look like that, so I actually have to trim these pieces to match. So this piece will lay down in here, and then I can tell what to do with this. If I have to remake it, trim it, whatever, I have to get all that worked out before I can make the bends right here, because it may go in or out. It's just, this is some tedious little technical work. Now we took a lot of big swings, now it's time for little tiny ones. I went ahead and made the little tape templates here. I cut that in half. I actually did it in one piece. I thought, well, I'll just make that all in one piece, bend it in the middle and shape it. It only took about 2 seconds for me to figure out that was a really bad idea. So we have to make one piece at a time. I don't think we're going to get to it on this video. It's going to take a little bit to get these worked out and get these pieces worked. So let me go ahead and get these trimmed up, and all that done off camera. It's just a lot of grinding and fitting, and I'll bring you back when that looks halfway decent. Then we can get back to these pieces and see if they're going to actually work out. All right, well, we're having to remake some parts, but I got this piece fitting as good as it's ever going to fit. It's trimmed up and looking really nice on both sides, and it's nice and flush right off the hood here, so that's really good. So I tried to fit these pieces in after I got this all reworked, and they're falling too short. It's just not going to work. So what I did was I got some thinner, just notebook paper, and I put it up there and I wrapped it around, and then I just came out here and I traced to that edge right there on both of them, and now they're fitting in there really good. So I actually put some tape down in there and put the old scoop in, and I drew where those should fall, and they're pretty close. So if it's a little bit bigger opening, that's fine, more air for the 428 to breathe. So I'm going to go ahead and model these up in Fusion 360 and get them cut. I think I'll do those pieces at the same time. We'll bust them out at the same time, and then I'll bring you back when we got those pieces ready to go. All right, guys, I kid you not, a half a day later. I've been working on these forever, it seems like, but I got it. Finally. Remember when I said I was jinxing myself saying they were going to be easy? Well, they were not easy. It was very complex curve coming back in there. I could weld that right now. It's a perfect fit, but we're not ready for that yet. Far from it. So we need to get these pieces bent to match the hood right here. So I'm going to probably trim these. Maybe I shouldn't trim them yet. I'm going to go ahead and lay out the start and the stop on this bend right here, and I don't know if we'll use a profile gauge or just my thumbs, and we'll see if we can bend these to get them to fit. Do one at a time, and then we'll cut them to length. I think that's a smart move. So let me put the camera down, and we'll get these, maybe just bend them with our thumbs. I think that's probably the best way to go. All right, I don't know if you guys can make that out, but there's the curve right there, and obviously I don't have anything, that'd be a huge piece of pipe to bend that over. So what we're going to do is just take it out. I figure we're going to bend right here. We're going to run the center plane right here. Just take it out. I got a piece of pipe. I'll just try to hold it in that spot, and I'll just use my hands down on my knee, and we'll bend it real quick and keep testing it. All right, first try. Looks like I went too far. Nope, that's not bad right there. Maybe a little too far. Maybe, I don't know. It feels pretty good. All right, pretty happy with that. I do have to push it down. It might have a little twist in it. A magnet to hold that down. I think that's looking pretty good right there. Pretty happy with that. All this needs to be final trimmed. I left everything a little long, but we're looking pretty good right there. All right, I'm going to do the other piece, and then we're going to figure out where to cut these, and we might even get them tacked together, and then we can slide that whole thing in there in one piece. All right, guys, we got those pieces matching the hood really nicely. The one over here is actually resting on top of that one. That's why it's not down all the way. I was going to, final cut them right here and tack them together, but I got a lot of fine tuning to do on both sides, and it's be kind of a dumb thing to do to tack them together this soon. So I'm going to be patient, and we'll get that later. But it's coming out really nice. I'm really happy with the progress we've made over the last couple of days, and I think I'm doing way better than I did when I was 19 or 20. That's for sure. I think it's coming out really nice. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this one up, and we'll finish this another day. All right, guys, I know this video is probably running a little long, and I do want to drop some subscriber pictures of their projects at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. We did get a really good start on duplicating this old pot metal insert hood scoop with a sheet metal one, so I'm really happy with the results we've gotten so far. I can't wait to start making those other pieces, but that's going to come a little bit later. Thanks for joining me here at Foothill Paint Fabrication. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Mash that bell and drop me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. We'll see you in 2 weeks.